me, the word discipleship is so loaded. So can someone be a disciple if they're in jail? Absolutely. Can someone be a disciple if they're a bike courier? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Can someone not be a disciple if they're a pastor? Absolutely. I think it's a hard issue, but I think it is reflected in the way that you follow. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I'm ever in a position to say, you're not a disciple or you are one. But I think it can be, sometimes when someone loves and follows Jesus, it's pretty obvious, right? It just radiates out of them. So sometimes it's really clear. But we often see that in places we might not expect to see it. My name is James. I am an MDiv, Masters of Divinity, in the Pioneer stream. So that's for folks that realize that church doesn't necessarily work for everyone, and we're trying to work out new ways of reaching people. I honestly don't know why I became so interested in working with offenders and ex-offenders. I think something that speaks very clearly to me is that Jesus is on the side of the outcast. He's on the side of people that might not be welcome in society, and even people that aren't welcome in church today. And for me, that's no more clear than with criminals. And we judge criminals by the worst thing that they've ever done. I'm very lucky in that when I meet people, I'm not judged by the worst thing that I've ever done. But sadly, lots of criminals are. And so for me, I think that the church can only be the church if everyone is welcome. I think the presence of folks that know they have made some terrible mistakes makes the community a more beautiful thing. I think we need to take Jesus' words in Matthew 25 very seriously, that whatever we do for the least, we do it for him. And that's just a verse that's always spoken to me. And whilst I think relationship with Jesus is one filled with abundance and love and joy and brilliance and completion, there is still this part of me that knows we've got to help the people that other people won't.
Depending on how good the teacher you have is, that kind of says something about who you are. And so in the same way, if we've studied with Jesus and learned from him, then that says something about who we are. And we're committed, in a committed relationship to him, to become in some way as he is. That's what discipleship means to me. I think that we shouldn't dismiss the fact that certain people are teaching us, but we shouldn't act as though the importance of that person as the teacher is more important than the message that they have to bring.
My name is Matthew, and I'm a Master of Divinity student. I think that learning about God is always a good pursuit, and so to be able to apply myself to that is really a privilege. There's so much that I don't know yet and that I'm trying to learn, and I think that pursuit will continue for the rest of my life. Being a follower of Christ at a young age, I think, is a good thing because I'm still being formed, and so I'm in a process of growth in many ways, so I'm continuing to grow theologically as I'm growing as a person, and so hopefully the two things will come together.
I've always seen discipleship as meaning, learning how to kind of live your life no matter where you are, and no matter who you are, and no matter what you've done, kind of live in that, trying to follow that path of Jesus and trying to live your life according to how he wants you to live your life. And I guess like being graduate students, we always want to kind of get into a certain stream, but I think one thing that really challenges me about Jesus is, his school of life is open to everybody, and it's not selective. It's not, it's not elitist, but it is really disruptive in a sense where he calls everybody by name to join him. I'm always really struck by the fact that early Christians called their faith the way, and so they understood that it wasn't necessarily a theological school or just like even like a status, but it was a way they were following, following the footsteps of Christ. My name is Daniel. I'm studying for my Master of Theological Studies, and I was doing my Master of Education, hoping to, use my Christian faith to teach and write curriculum. But as I started studying the material more, I realized that I needed to understand my own faith better in order to actually teach it. And so I enrolled in one course almost by accident, and so it just became a natural progression of going from education to theology. And so hoping to integrate those two things into my career. I think that's one thing that many people have a misconception of theology, that they assume that it's only about law, about right conduct, but theology is really something I find very exciting because it kind of turns you into a Renaissance person where you have to kind of study everything because God is everywhere and his presence can be found anywhere. So whether it be in a symphony or whether it be like books of fine literature or even in like works of fine art, you can kind of see the footprints and fingerprints of God in it. And so that's one of the reasons why I find theology so exciting, because it's really never ending. Do you feel like Christ was disrupting religion not because he saw religion as a bad thing necessarily, but because he wanted the priests and the Sadducees and the Pharisees to kind of get to the point of why they were studying this material?
It's really important that we remember it's really only the religious folks of the day that Jesus has a problem with, right? All the other outcasts are fine, lepers, they can come and hang out, and drunks there, of course you're welcome, and prostitutes, tax collectors, all the people that society as a whole deemed unworthy and unwelcome, he's happy to sit with them. And that's what drove the religious folks of his time absolutely mad. We can see that the governing officials didn't really have a problem with Jesus, right? Pilate says, I can't find any fault in him. But it's the religious folks that want him gone. And why wouldn't they? Like, woe to you Pharisees. He attacks them over and over again. And who could blame him? They're not looking after the widows. They're not looking after the orphans. So I think it's when that religion gets in the way of helping those people that Jesus says are so important, that God tells us are so important. I think that's the religion that he's so eager to disrupt.